You're watching Fugitive Redeye, and welcome to another episode of Redeye Raw. So in this one, I don't know if I'm gonna sound like a dick, but I also don't know if I care that I do, so here we go. I remember a while back, Corbin told me I should do like one of those like childhood fear videos of things that scared you as a child. And I just remember seeing a lot of those and thinking, these people are fucking pussies. Like, did any of this actually scare anyone? Like, granted, I had movies and shit that scared me as a kid. Like, I mean, when I was a kid, Halloween 6 scared me, which I don't fully understand because Halloween 6 is not scary at all. But I thought Michael Myers was going to pop out of the closet and stab me, which I mentioned this in a shit show, actually, if I remember right. Yeah, I did. And then I also mentioned that there was a Saw 6 commercial that's very cleverly done that would have the puppet randomly pop up on your screen during the commercial break and just say, like, hello. And, like, that was the entire trailer. That freaked me out when I was younger, too. But a lot of the things people get scared of, I just don't get. Like, there's this, like, Teletubbies segment that has, like, a lion and a bear made out of wood just kind of chasing each other around, and the bear's going, blah, 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 and the lion's like, I'm gonna get you, rah. And people found that scary, apparently. Like, I know Teletubbies is for toddlers, so whatever, but I don't get it. Or there's, like, people got, like, scared of a lot of things on Courage the Cowardly Dog, like they were genuinely terrified of it, but I never got that. I loved Courage growing up. One of my favorite shows as a kid. And it never, like, physically scared me. Like, I thought things were, like, oh, creepy and cool. But I never got scared by it. I know when I was, like, 3, I watched the 90s version of Stephen King's It. Didn't scare me either. But I saw it multiple times after that. But the first time I saw it, I was, like, 3. And I read Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And that was one of my favorite book series as a kid, too. And I remember they changed the artwork, because they're a bunch of fucking pansies. And they're like, oh, this is too scary for kids. Like, you take away the artwork, and it literally defeats the entire purpose of reading the fucking books. Because the stories themselves are not great. The artwork is what makes it. The artwork is what sells it. The stories themselves are mediocre at best. I remember I had a friend, we went and saw Scooby-Doo, the movie, when it came out in movie theaters, right? So that was quite some time ago. And he took off out of the theater. He went to go watch some other movie with his mom because the ghost, the Luna ghost at the beginning of Scooby-Doo the movie, scared the shit out of him. I don't get it. And he was only a couple years younger than me, mind you. So, it's like, what does any of this mean? Like, why are people scared so fucking easily? That same friend also got freaked out one time when we went and saw The Marine, starring John Cena. The explosions kind of freaked him out. And, like, all the violence at the beginning of the movie. I mean, this friend was kind of a pussy in general. He also used to, watch a lot of, like, really girly shows on, like, Saturday mornings on cartoons. And it's like, whatever, I don't care, you can watch what you want. But I made fun of him because that's what kids do. And he would make up the excuse that he was just waiting until the Ninja Turtles came on, which, granted, it did come on eventually, so maybe he was telling the truth. And he was watching Winx Club, which, maybe he was checking out the characters, in which case, I was in the wrong to make fun of him. Otherwise, he can go to hell. No, I'm just kidding, he's fine. But, no, that friend was an interesting lad. He used to want to go dig out in my backyard, right? Like, whenever we'd hang out, he's like, let's go dig. Yeah, anyway, and that's a whole other tangent for maybe another day, but, a lot of people get scared by shit that I'm just like, this was supposed to scare someone? Like, I get it when it's, like, genuinely kind of dark. Like Courage, although it never scared me, and I think people who got scared of it are either A, making it up and exaggerating, B, watched it at a very young age and got scared because they were very, very young, or C, are just fucking pussies. Like, again, granted, there was plenty of stuff I saw when I was younger that used to creep me out, but just because something creeped me out or, like, was scary, that didn't, like, take me away from it. If anything, that drew me more towards it. I actually kind of miss the ability to be scared physically by movies. Like, that is something I miss, because I don't feel that anymore. Now, when I'm watching a horror movie, I just sit back and have fun, which, granted, is great too. But I do miss being kept up at night. Like, back when I used to listen to some particularly good creepypastas. Or back when I used to watch, like, ghost videos on YouTube and shit and get scared by those. Nothing like that really creeps me out that much anymore. Every once in a while, I'll find something that I can't explain online that maybe freaks me out, but that is very, very rare of an occurrence now, so it doesn't happen enough to be really worth mentioning. That said, again, I get everyone's scared by different things, and again, there were things that scared me when I was younger that make no sense to me now, like when I originally watched Halloween 6, that scared me somehow. Don't know why. But there's a lot of things that I think that, to an extent, we need to get exposed to horror to an extent at a younger age, because it adds a certain effect that you don't really have as much fun if you're not getting a little scared once in a while. Like I said on the shit show I did with Anthony and Corbin a while back, and by a while back I mean like a month or two ago, maybe 3. We were talking about, how I played Bloody Mary one time and did it wrong, and, we were all terrified. Yeah, I don't typically find, like, uncanny CGI and stuff, like, creepy, like, things that look kind of weird. There's some occasions where I'm like, yeah, I get that. Like, that fucking walrus from Pingu. I'm like, okay, I get why that would scare children. But I grew up with horror as part of my life from a very young age. Like, when I was a kid, my dad used to read Stephen King books to me. He'd censor a lot, mind you. He would leave out a lot, because those books are not child appropriate, but he'd leave out a lot of stuff, and he'd creatively find ways to still tell the story while leaving out certain more explicit details. I remember one time in school, there was actually a copy of Silence of the Lambs in the janitor's closet that a couple of the kids swiped, and we watched it. I didn't watch the whole thing, I saw a couple bits of it. I saw it later on. Love that movie, by the way. My favorite Hannibal movie by far. Of course, every school and neighborhood and stuff that, I've lived in has had their urban legends and their local legends and stuff. Not so much necessarily neighborhoods, although I think there have been, like, houses and stuff growing up that were supposedly haunted. Supposedly the auditorium of my high school was supposed to be haunted. I don't know, I do love that urban legend stuff. That's something that brings up a hell of a lot of nostalgia in me. Because, I've always been fascinated by things like, supposedly paranormal things, cryptozoology, aliens, stuff like that. That kind of stuff has always been an interest of mine. I'll go more in depth on the aliens thing on a Life of Redeye episode at some point, because I used to be real nutty with that when I was a kid, and I think that'd be a fun topic for a video all on its own. I remember one time there was this, like, movie we watched on, I think it was the Sci-Fi Channel. There's this movie called Boo, and it genuinely scared me at the time we saw it. It's a shitty horror movie, by the way. There's also a weird Chupacabra movie they had there that took place on a boat, where, like, this Chupacabra was on, like, a cruise ship or something. I also remember in high school, when I first heard about Slender Man, I didn't know it was a creepypasta, because I didn't know what the fuck a creepypasta was. And I remember it scared me when I first heard about it, or at least I found it interesting. Because I love weird, creepy urban legends and stuff like that. But I do definitely feel like a lot of that stuff is oversaturated online now. I still watch Chills, not because it's creepy, but because, in my opinion, Chills is playing a character, and it's, like, intentionally bad, and I have a good time watching it. Chills is fun. I don't think you can genuinely hate Chills, because he's just kind of a fun, kooky thing to watch. But I've gone off on multiple tangents here. What I'm getting at is, I think horror is kind of something that has been an important part of my life for a long time. And I think that growing up with just a little bit of it, I think is kind of important. That's why I think, like, kids should see movies like Watership Down and stuff like that are kind of freaky and violent, but not, like, to the point where it's, like, gratuitous. But yeah, also, incidentally, my favorite books that my dad used to read to me were the Dark Tower series. I love that book series. I need to reread it. I started rereading it in high school, but I didn't finish it. I own The Drawing of Three now, which is the second book, and then my dad actually found his old copies that he used to read to us of 3 and 4, so I'm gonna reread through those. I gotta get a copy of 1 again, I guess. But yeah, that movie was the movie adaptation was lackluster as shit, though, to say the least. I grew up with a lot of Stephen King stuff, though. That was a big part of my childhood too. And then in high school, I watched a lot of like slasher movies and stuff that I hadn't seen. Like I watched a few slasher movies here and there growing up, but I really started getting into them in high school. Which it's crazy to think just how long ago that was for me, because I've been out of high school for like 8 years now. I feel old. I'm nearly 27, so you know, high school was a while ago. But yeah, I've rambled on and on. I do like horror movies. I think that's pretty apparent, and I think that urban legends, ghost stories, and things like that are fun too. And I think that little things like that make the world more interesting. And I can't believe I started from a place of being kind of ranty, being like, "How are people so scared of stuff?" and then went on this whole tangent. I guess I don't know what to title this, but you'll find out when it's up. I think that's enough for now, though. Toodles.